Teacher talking sports, what it does, what it do, how we live. And if there's something I've learned in my years of doing fantasy football, it's to wait to as close as the regular season starting to have your fantasy draft because so much can happen days before the season takes place. Unfortunately, we know NFL is a sport that features a ton of injuries, so how upset will you be if one of your top 3 or 4 picks goes down a week before the season begins and you already had your draft? Well, you're stuck with that player until they come back. Well, unfortunately, there is some injury news in the NFL. Let's get into it. So, this is via NFL.com. Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp visiting specialist in Minnesota to further understand hamstring issue. Of course, Kupp had an historic 2021, leading the NFL in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns, and helping guide the Rams to a Super Bowl victory in which he was named Super Bowl MVP. Last season, he was on pace to come very close to his numbers he put up the previous year. Actually, was on pace for more receptions, just less receiving yards, less receiving TDs, but had an ankle injury that basically forced him to sit out the entire second half. Now he's got this lingering hamstring issue, so he's getting an extra look at his hamstring a weekend before the NFL season kicks off. The star Rams wide receiver is in Minnesota today, visiting with a body specialist to further understand the root of his injury, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported per sources. He first suffered the hamstring injury, practiced on August 1st. Rams described him as day-to-day, but he closed August with a setback. Sean McVay again characterized Kupp as day-to-day. It's unclear whether or not the wide receiver will be able to return for the Los Angeles Week 1 opener against the Seahawks. Rappaport also reported that exercising caution for that matchup is a likely outcome, but he mentioned that there remains no firm word on his status. Well, I would say if he's visiting a specialist, 8 short days before their season opener against the Seahawks, I would highly doubt that he'd be ready to play week 1. Clearly is a serious enough thing where, he wants to go to Minnesota to see the specialist. And if we take a look at the Rams depth chart with Kupp, if Kupp were forced to miss week 1, Van Jefferson would become their number 1 wide receiver, most likely. Jefferson put up career numbers in 2021, but it was still maybe about 600 receiving yards. Made less of an impact last season. Tutu Atwell was a second-round pick, I believe, in 2021, and just hasn't made much of a dent in the NFL's first 2 seasons. Otherwise, Puka Nakua, 5th-round pick this year. Demarcus Robinson, longtime Kansas City Chief, had like 40 catches last year for the Ravens, but definitely would be a big loss for the Rams if Cooper Kupp were forced to miss week 1 and perhaps even longer again. Just the fact that he's seen a specialist leads me to believe that this isn't something minor. It's something he wants to get figured out quick so he can be back on the field. But we know the Rams, after winning the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, have lost a lot of that veteran team that they had back then. Star power wise, who is it besides Kupp, Stafford, and Aaron Donald? Not much else left there. And again, their wide receiver room would be quite bare without Kupp. Of course, last year they tried out Allen Robinson as their wide receiver too, and that did not go well at all. Hopefully, if you had your fantasy football draft, Cooper Kupp isn't out too long for you if you did take him, because odds are he was a 1st or 2nd-round pick. Anyhow, don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.